Ami, we've talked about this before, but the US immigration crisis, it just gets so, well, worse and worse. It's unbelievable. You've got now more than 250,000 illegal immigrants crossed just the US border with Mexico last month. In 1 month, 250,000. In the past year, the southern states have been the brunt of this, have bussed 100,000 of them to New York, which is a very Democrat city, to sort of spread the concern. Now, that's caused a very political storm in New York, Ami, that's even dragged in former Democrat President Bill Clinton.
Yeah, this is so interesting. And by the way, yeah, I have a feeling we're going to be talking about this a lot more going forward, right? This won't be the last time we're going to be discussing this for sure. But, you know, look, I said it before. It's the idea that the southern governors had, particularly Florida and Texas, to bus the illegals up to blue cities and blue states was absolute stroke of brilliance. And not just from perspective of political theater, it's actually having real world ramifications in terms of the political process and how the leaders of these states and cities are actually viewing immigration now, as opposed to how they did before, because now they're feeling the actual brunt of it. Most recently is Governor Hochul of New York, who of course kept going back and forth about how the border is closed. It's not true the border's open. And now, guess what? She's changed her tune. And in a recent speech that she gave, now you have to sift through the stupid, right? She did a thing like blame Republicans for the border. She said that she literally said all the illegals coming in are coming into New York. Now, New York's only had about 150,000 total in the city, where, as you said before, the southern states had 250,000 just last week. So obviously that isn't true. But she has finally come to admit and said, this isn't working. The border is open. And guess what? It has to be closed. We can't allow everybody to come in, even though she and the Democratic Party made New York City a sanctuary city specifically to say, hey, guys, come on in.
Maybe that's the difference between the left and conservatives. Conservatives look at the consequences. The left must look at them when they're finally pushed in their faces. Joe Biden is looking so old and frail and confused now, Ami, that it looks almost impossible for him to run again in next year's election. I think there's a consensus now about that. Interesting that now reports that Michelle Obama, wife of the former president, could run in his place. How likely does that look?
Now, you and I have been ahead of the curve on this one, right? Joe Biden, he seems to get older sentence to sentence. That's how quickly this is happening. First of all, for Michelle Obama to run, she has to get off of Steven Spielberg's $250 million yacht in Portofino that she's hanging out there with him and Tom Hanks. So she's got to make that decision. But what's interesting was actually President Obama was asked about it, and he didn't say no. He was silent on it, right? You would have thought he would have said, absolutely not. That's crazy. He didn't say that. And I was looking through an interview that Michelle Obama did with just a few months ago. And she was asked about it. And she said these words. She said, I never said I was going to run. That does not seem like a flat out denial to me. So look, they have to pick a black woman. Just ask Gavin Newsom, who had to pick the most leftist black woman in America. And we all know it's not going to be Kamala Harris, because I don't know if polling goes negative, but that's where she's at. She's at negative numbers on polling. So it can't be her. What other black woman could it be? I don't know. Michelle Obama could be.
Well, I think I've heard even rumours that there's been talks between the Biden camp and the Obama camp. I don't know if that's true, but we shall see. Ami Horowitz, thank you so much for your time.
Always a pleasure.